viewers. Welcome to the War Room. My name is Eoin. So I've been looking forward to doing this show tonight because we're going to be talking about a movie which I was actually the last of the Action Elite to actually see this movie, called Sisu, which we're going to get to in a minute once I bring the crew in. So before we get started, though, I just wanted to take a little minute just to pay a little tribute to one of my friends who was laid to rest today, called Serena, and she passed away suddenly last week, just out of nowhere. And she was a big movie fan, and we would talk Star Wars and all kinds of movies all the time. So it was a big shock to lose her today. So just to say, rest in peace, Serena. You're very much missed, and things won't be the same without you. So without any further ado, I will bring in the squad. So first up is Stephen.
Hey, Owen. What's up?
Not much. How are you?
I can't complain.
Good. Next up is J-Man. How are you?
The finger.
Yeah.
The moving finger.
Keep it out your ass and you'll be fine.
Yeah. This is what happens when you pick your nose too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And the next up is Sean. How are you?
Just walk it off, man.
Yeah.
I'll walk it off with my fingers.
And next up is Charlie.
It's all that finger wagging you've been doing.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Anytime you point, there's three pointing back at you, but that's why I point this way. It was you.
As long as your middle finger's okay, that's the only one that matters.
Yeah,
that's right. That's the driving finger.
Yeah, that's
I can't
all
lose
good.
that.
No.
Yeah, you got something right here?
Yeah, something right there. Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about Sisu, which I just saw for the first time at the weekend, which is an absolute disgrace that it took me that long to watch it, particularly whenever it is without a doubt the best action movie of this year. I mean, for me, it just killed everything else. It was 90 minutes long, which is first tick right there in its favor. It had ridiculously over-the-top violence. Awesome. Probably one of the all-time great bad guy deaths, maybe now my all-time favorite, actually. It's up there with Universal Soldier and True Lies in terms of just sheer ridiculousness. And I just love how absolutely mental the movie is, how it sort of starts off sort of quiet and then just gets more and more ridiculous as it goes on. I was like, I love this. This is like an old-fashioned action movie.
Yeah.
It almost, you could have had like an Arnie in it back in the day or whatever.
Right.
My favorite scene has to be the minefield scene. I don't think I have laughed so much at that scene. It's like where you have the guy, the Nazi guy walking through, and he might as well be wearing a red ensign shirt because you say, oh, this guy's fucked. And then you see the mine slowly coming towards him, blows him up, his leg goes flying, lands in another mine, and blows it up. I was just crying. I was like, that is one of the best kills I've ever seen. So I absolutely loved this movie. I think it's my favorite of the year, definitely. But that's all I'll say about it, and I'm going to jump on to you guys. So, Steve, let's start off with you. What do you think?
Yeah. So I saw the trailer for this movie, and I'm like, I've gotten to the point now where I now look at the director to see what else they've done, because that has stopped me from seeing some very, potentially bad movies in the past, which I won't mention here, Barbie. But the thing is that, I noticed this guy did Big Game. Now, Sean introduced me to Big Game.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, it's an awesome movie. It's Samuel L. Jackson, and it's a kid, and you don't think it's going to be good. And as soon as it's a kid, I'm like, oh, shit. But it is really good. And Samuel L. Jackson is actually restrained, and someone finally got the light bulb over the head and made him the president, which is something that Samuel L. Jackson needed to be the president at some point. Now, he wasn't cursing, which was a problem. He should have been cursing Samuel L. Jackson. So I haven't seen Rare Exports, but I'm like, I have to see this movie. So I mentioned it to J-Man. I'm like, keep your eye out for Sisu, because, of course, this didn't get much of a theatrical release at all. So needless to say, he saw it before me, and
I loaned it to you.
Loaned it to me, and I watched it, and I was entertained beyond belief. I don't do this often. I actually shouted when the horse flew up under him, I was completely stunned at that thing. I did not see it happening. When he is hanged, I was laughing because I'm like, how is he going to get out of this one? And of course, he figures out a way, and it's the most ludicrous way possible. Like,
just laughing thinking about it.
Leg into the spike. Him surviving the plane crash at the end was awesome. He just crawls out of the wreckage. But right off the bat, I knew we were good because the first Nazi, he sticks a knife in the guy's head, and I'm like, here we go. This is how it's going to be. And this movie is actually brilliant because you don't have to set up the bad guys. As soon as they put on the uniform, that's all you need, and you're immediately like, fuck these guys, let's go get them. And it's the one-man army, which that formula never gets tired. As long as you have a relatable protagonist who's willing to take on an army of bad guys, I could sit there and watch that all day because it just works. It's just a great formula and it never gets tired to me. This was an awesome movie. This director has made 3 films. I have to see Rare Exports now, but this guy's made.
I'm sure I can loan it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You saw it, yeah. Anyway.
This guy, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the geniuses of modern cinema at this point in time, considering what I've seen of him. So,
yeah. I thought the comparisons were a bit lazy. Where like it's John Wick in World War II, and I was like, stop comparing everything to John Wick. It's nothing to do with John Wick.
It's not John Wick.
That's the only thing that they have. That's the only great thing that they have to compare to because their memories don't go far back enough.
Yeah.
So they go to, but this is the industry. They can only remember the last thing that was of any use. So prior to John Wick, how would you have described John Wick? They can't go that far back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these foreign movies, well, I'll wait my turn. Or do you want me to just go next, or since I'm?
No, you go next. Go for it.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so everyone's gonna say how great it is. I'll talk about something else. So you have to get to where all of everyone outside of North America is catching up to 80s and 90s. Same with Bollywood, right? Their action movies, this is Finnish or whatever. They're all catching up to where the 80s and 90s were because to them that's what action means. When you're going to go into a genre and you're going to do something and you want to pick your thing, you're like, oh, let's do an action movie. Everyone outside North America goes to the 80s / even into the 90s because to them that in their minds they're like, oh yeah, that was the great action era. That's what they actually think about. So Charlie's podcast, Give Me Back My Action / Horror Movies. So if we talk about the action part, they are giving it back to them, right? Like they actually are giving it to them through outside sources. You're not getting it really. You're getting it a little bit here. Okay, we're not going to say, North America's trash. But you're getting it from these other countries who are looking at these movies as templates for their movies. It's like, oh, I want to make a Rambo kind of a guy. Okay, well, I don't want to just literally make Rambo because what is the point of that, right? I'm going to take this character and put him in our thing. Yeah, we don't like the Yahtzees either. So we're going to have our guy go in and TCB, as we say, take care of business. So this is what you get. And you can almost see the director's like mind thinking like, okay, well, this movie can't be too long. We got to make it under 90 minutes because action movies are short. It's like, we got to get to it right away. We can't have this long drawn out backstory because no one cares. They want to get to it. We'll learn about the character through his actions. And it's like all of the tropes are there. And all of a sudden you got these guys, oh, this movie's so great. And everyone's losing their minds. Right. Because you're not seeing this now. And then you're seeing people saying, well, it's like John Wick. It's like, well, it's not. It's not like John Wick at all. Like I wouldn't even like it. Yeah. There's nothing like it, like at all. So first there's no martial arts. So right away you're like, this is not, this, but that's the only thing that these people have. Right. So now when this movie comes out, you're like, wow, this is so amazing. And yeah, it is amazing. It's a good movie on its own. It stands on its own, but it's also good if you compare it. So if this movie came out in the same time period that it's reflecting, you'd still be like, oh, that was really cool. Right. So I don't know if in that time you might say, oh, this is this is the Finnish Rambo or something. Like I don't know what you would say back then. I guess something like that. Right.
The director admits that anyway. So
yeah,
that was his biggest influence was First Blood, not Rambo 2 or 3, It was First Blood was his biggest influence for this movie. So obviously that would be the correlation.
Right. So, and same with Bollywood. I saw that Pathan movie, right? And it's like, right, they're mimicking the overblown 90s where it's like, how much more can we put into this film, right? It's like the Con Air thinking, like, well, what if we have 1 or 2 cool characters? Hold on, what if we have 10? Well, okay, right? Like, this is the thinking. It's like, well, let's throw an extra scene in. You think the action's over? Throw it in. I was like, I think Speed is a great example of where you had. I didn't know I was going to mention Speed till just the second, because it's like you've got that elevator part. I remember thinking, what does this have to do with a bus? I'm like, okay, the elevator thing, that's cool. Then he gets the bus, and the bus kind of ends. You're like, this doesn't feel like it's over. Then there's a whole subway thing. You're like, well, that's just thrown in just for the shit of throwing something out. That's just something saying, throw it in the subway. Why not? Like, okay.
We called it Speed, and then the literal pitch moment with the movie where some guy going, okay, there's this bomber, and he's going to hijack this elevator with people. Cool. Then what? Okay, now these guys are going to save it, and then the bomber is going to capture one of them, and he has to shoot his partner. Then what? And the whole movie is this happens. Then what?
Then what?
This happens.
Right.
Then what? And that's Speed.
Yeah. So that comes from someone who's mimicking the North American style, and putting their own spin on it. The guy didn't just carbon copy a movie; he still has his own take on it, right? And it feels like it feels new, but it also feels old. I like that. I like where it's like you're not sure. Like the problem is it's on 4K and you're seeing it super clear. But if it was like on VHS or something, you wouldn't have known when it was made. You'd be like, there is some CGI, so what are you gonna do? But it almost feels like it's new old. Like John Wick feels new. Like it's like. That feels like a new movie with very high production values and whatever. Absolutely. This movie feels like it could have been from that time. So and that's it. So the movie's great. I love the movie. Whatever, I watched it. I don't know if I was the first. I don't know if Charlie saw it before me, or if I loaned it to everybody. Did I loan it to everybody? Is that what happened?
I rented it the other day on Amazon. So I could find it. I needed it with subtitles. So.
Well, there's only one thing with subtitles at the very end, and
you can look it up.
You can look it up. And
I need to watch every movie with subtitles because I'm deaf.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So Steve was the initiating factor. He's like, well, this looks really cool. I was like, okay. Like, I'll just watch anything anyway, so I don't care. I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, wow, that was awesome.
It came in theaters with a blur. You heard about it, you saw a little bit of marketing, then it was like 2 weeks later, it's out. It's gone.
Yeah.
And this one actually took a long time to come on Blu-ray. Like it's only just come out a few weeks ago.
Yeah. It came out in April in the US. It debuted at TIFF here, like in September.
Yes, September. I'm looking it up now. Yeah. So it
had an actual theatrical debut like in April.
It was like April, but it was like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If your theater even picked it up,
didn't pick it up. Yeah, mine didn't even pick it up.
I don't think mine did either. And then it came out. It left the theaters, and I kept going. Well, it should be streaming by now, and it just wasn't. And all the way up until like beginning of July, which sounds stupid that we say that now. Like, wow, it went from April to July. That's really fast. Not now. Now it can leave a theater. It can still be in the theater and be streaming already. Yeah. That's what we're used to now. But yeah, I borrowed it from J-Man, and it was, oh God. I wish I'd have watched this in that old theater I watched Evil Dead Rise in. That isn't updated digital. The blacks are grainy. The floors are fucking sticky, and that's how you go to a movie theater.
Old man urinating in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. That's just Bob. Don't worry about Bob. He's
fine.
He'll go refill your drink as long as it ain't Mountain Dew. You're good.
Yeah. Well, I'm done. I mean, so that's it. It's awesome. Yeah, you guys. Because I know everyone's going to talk about all the scenes, so I just wanted to give my nerdy analysis of it.
Yeah. All right, Sean.
I guess I've been watching too many of these giant Hollywood terrible movies lately, and Dollar Destiny is really like on my mind still. And it's like, whoo, it won't let go. It's so bad. But
have we seen that? Have I seen that movie?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, therapy.
You wouldn't know if you did.
There's only
so.
3 Indiana Jones movies, gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's all.
2 and a partial for me. But
I say all this because, like, I mean, Sisu feels like a real movie because it's like, first of all, it's shot with natural light, which I didn't realize how much I yearned for. It's like having actual sun and everything, and the light shining on them and the dawn and everything.
You don't like 4,000 filters. You don't like where the movie.
No, I don't like shit smudge filters, man. It's like everything's like green or red or some freaking, or like Little Mermaid's all like in a dust storm somewhere. What the hell?
Conquest. Listen, Conquest looks better than Little Mermaid.
Yes,
Charlie,
I'm not going to watch Little Mermaid, but I'll take your word.
Well, I saw the trailer in IMAX, and literally, I was like, "It's Conquest 2. I can't believe they got this made. I don't know what happened." And I'm like, "They're going to be underwater. This is awesome." And then it was like Little Mermaid. I'm like, "Why does it look like shitty?"
They instead of 3D, they should have gave everyone like water glasses that you had water inside of it and watched the movie.
Whew. That's a genius. That's genius.
that's the new. They should have come up with that.
Patent pending. Patent pending. Patent pending.
Right.
Like, oh my god! It's like they're underwater. There'll be a water alert, like, and then you have to put your glasses on, and you see them underwater. Anyway, anyways, the other thing I wanted to say was, I love when movies are more storyboarded than scripted, because I think you get more out of it that way. And this movie doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I mean, there's a script. There's got to be a script, but like a lot of it is storyboard, because a lot of it is action and people just looking at each other, like, and talking with their eyes, basically. I love the one part where they hang the guy, because they hang him and it looks like he's dead, and the one guy takes off his thing, and then the bad guy is such an ass. He hadn't even thought of this. He looks at him and he goes, and in his head you could see him thinking like, oh yeah. So he takes off his hat and he looks at the other guy, and the other guy's like, I guess so, and he takes off his hat, and then the bad guy goes one step further, because he's like, oh, he's on a good person kick right now. So he offers money to the corpse. But then he can't help himself because he's such an asshole. He just starts playing with the corpse, right?
Yeah.
And it's all told with no dialogue.
Right.
It's all just like, like people coming up with ideas, storyboarding them and stuff, and like, spitballing ideas. And I love all that. And most of the movies, this. Like when that one leg falls on the on the landmine and blows up, like that's something going like, what if like it doesn't just end there? The leg goes and blows up another way. It's like, it's like Angry Birds or something, So if I had minor gripes for this, I would say like the Yahtzees have stormtrooper aim, like. And I think part of the problem with that is that most of what they're shooting at has plot armor. So like they can't kill the main guy, can't kill the dog, can't kill a lot of things that they shoot except for themselves. When they shoot themselves, is like perfectly A-okay, right? And the other thing too, it's the stormtrooper aim, and also I had another the gore in this movie. I get it. It's a low budget movie, but even high budget movies do this as well. Like the CGI splatters, I've always hated that. It never looks good, because the problem is it's too, I guess, in terms of animation, it can't take up much space. So it's just a sort of, it's a little like pencil thin spurt and like some other things. You can't beat real life practical splatters. It just goes all over the place. And I know it's probably not realistic, but it looks good because it looks like it's in the same screen as everyone else. There's something about CGI gore that doesn't look like it's on the screen with them. It's a different video quality or something like that. It's minor. I mean, you could get around that, but I would just prefer practical gore effects,
Anytime you add CGI, you can only add it as whatever digital quality you use. So if you did it at 2K, a 4K is going to show make it look. That's the problem with those the prequels for sure, and especially the sequel trilogy, 20-minute Star Wars.
Yes.
but that's why people watch Return of the Jedi and they're like, why does this look better than like Phantom Menace or those 3 shit movies after that? It's like, well, because it's like you can only render these graphics in a certain, ratio or whatever, like format, and then that's it. So if you did 1080p and you make it 4K, well, now it looks like crap. Whereas a film quality film stock, you can make that I think you can go up to 8K on film.
They can
I don't know over digital every time.
Yeah, no, it will. That's why that Oppenheimer looked like insane. It's like it's just close-ups of a guy's face, but but it was insane.
Oh my God,
No, but you feel like they're there, right? That's the thing. Like you're like, I'm in that room with that guy when he's on trial. You're like, shit, I'm in this. Like I'm in here, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah. I mean, what's the budget of this movie?
It's $6.5 US.
Yeah.
I think it's 6.5 million US.
I was going to say, wow, that's cheaper than my lunch.
We could make one of these.
All on a burner phone, not even an iPhone. I just bought it at Walmart, man. It's all good. That's why they use natural light.
Well, it says
filters.
I think it's 6 million euro, and I think that's
euro
6 million. 6.5 million US.
A little higher.
That's still pretty amazing. I mean, it's better than most of the 100 million blockbusters you get these days.
Yes.
Well, because the guy knows how to shoot a film. It's like he knows how to use the light around him. It looks big budget when he's like in shadow and like the sky is purple behind him. It looks incredible. And that's not some sort of like CGI trickery. That's just knowing how to freaking shoot film like people used to do.
It's 90 minutes too. It's not like
for the environment you're shooting in. He's shooting in Finland, and he obviously has a love for the environment in Finland because he wants to show off his. I mean,
the character in itself.
Nope had genius cinematography, but it had a really good location, and Jordan Peele. He went all out. He obviously loved the environment. He chose the shot there, and he wanted to show it off. Remember when films wanted to show off what they were doing instead of hiding it all in a dark setting?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I go back to Nope, because I've seen it a few times since, is that environment. It's I love that whole valley and everything. It looks incredible.
It looks surreal. It looks like another planet, to be honest with you.
Isn't the character's name in Sisu is Kolshai, isn't it? Isn't that what they call him?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Kolshai, I think is they call him. Yeah. But another thing I have to put on the record is that this guy is like the baddest motherfucker I've seen. He makes John Wick look like a choir boy in comparison. I mean, this guy rolls in gasoline, sets himself on fire just to keep the dogs away from him, and jumps into the water. I'm like, bad ass. That is awesome. I just love that. And then he's still like, I mean, it's a total cartoon. I mean, the movie is an absolute cartoon. Like he then like is underwater and then pulls all like bad guys under the water in the boat and everything. And I literally love every scene. It's just it's so satisfying. And the thing is, because the bad guys are those bad guys, he can do whatever he wants to them because they're so hateful.
No holds barred whatsoever.
Doesn't he slit one guy's throat and like breathes the air?
Suck the air out of his My whole favorite thing in this movie is the underwater, because this guy had the balls to film part of this underwater, and it looked fucking amazing.
Yeah,
I love the underwater segment.
Yeah, me too.
So good.
Also, I have to apologize to all the viewers the fact that we've mentioned The Little Mermaid 2 streams in a row. I'm sorry about that, and it will never happen again.
Yeah, you'd think we were obsessed or something.
Well, it's just to show you the state of film or whatever.
Yeah, cinema. Yeah, exactly. Are you done, Sean? Move on to Charlie.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
All right, Charlie. Anything else you'd like to add?
So like I just wanted to say how good this movie is, and I actually had a metric with me when I watched this, because we watched this when I was out of town in Ohio. So I had my son and my best friend Rob with me, and I was like, "Hey man, I got Sisu. Let's watch it." And they're like, "Okay, cool." We stuck it in there, and they had more fun watching me than the actual movie, because I am just super animated. It's like, as soon as like the knife through the Nazi's head is fantastic. Like I love it. He takes everyone out. When that fucking horse explodes, I was like, "Oh shit, everything's on the table now."
Yeah.
Like, I have to be ready for anything. I never took my eyes off the screen. I was yelling. I was excited. And all you can hear is Rob going, and he wasn't looking at the screen. He's looking at me. Like he's watching the movie, but he's also like, this motherfucker loves this damn movie.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this thing, and it's like every time it just got a little bit more. And I would watch this. Some of my favorite, like J-Man was saying, like give me back my action movies. I'm thinking of movies like Soldier, where Kirk barely says a word in that whole movie. And I love that this guy doesn't talk till the end.
It's the very end, isn't it? Yeah.
The very end when he's at the bank, and that is it. And it's like, I want cash, big bills. This stuff's really heavy to carry. That is what he says to the bank.
Says,
yeah. And I like the girls in here. They totally get their revenge back on the Nazis that have them. And like Eoin said, man, they're Nazis. I don't give a shit what you do to them. Fillet them, cut their skin off, boil them alive. I'm going to cheer the entire movie that's happening. And it's this. And then he gets hung. How's he going to get out of this? This doesn't seem plausible. He hangs himself from his leg wound on a hook, which I still go, motherfucker, when that happens. But he doesn't get down. And you wait, and all of a sudden a plane goes by and it shakes the pole that he's hanging off of.
It was so convenient.
It was such a Rube Goldberg way of getting out. And there's a mixture of that and a little bit of Looney Tune logic. Not Looney Tune like silliness, but logic. And this movie pays homage to everything. Their marketing. When they first heard people comparing this movie to like, oh, it's World War II John Wick, they literally started a campaign that said, at least our dog lives. They literally had that in their commercials going, don't worry, the dog lives. And then he has a Captain America moment. He's holding up that gold can like the shield, and then bullets are bouncing off that damn thing. And he should be hitting the legs. He should be hit somewhere else. Nope. I'm watching this going, yeah, Captain America, that shit. And the radio call with the Nazis in the tank with their commanding officer telling them, don't fuck with this guy.
Let him go.
This is the baddest motherfucker in the war. Just let it go. And they can't. And that just sets off everything for me, that it's all about pride and ego and the gold. I get their logic. It makes sense. When the war's done, we lost. We did some terrible shit, and they're going to fucking kill us. We need this gold so we can beeline it to Argentina, which is literally what happened.
Yes.
And I love that this is in Finland and it's a Finnish director, because that means he has some tie and some history to what actually happened. So it's kind of like them, him giving the big middle finger to Germany of that time. And I dig it. I love it so much, man. So that's me, man. You could talk about any scene in this movie, and I'm going to be like, yeah, that was awesome.
It's been a while since I've been as excited watching a movie where I'm cheering and laughing and just going like that throughout. I'm like, yes, and just having such a good time. And I was like, God, I don't remember having that too much with any recent, American releases. I mean,
no, I enjoyed John.
Up there. Yeah.
Extraction 2 was great. We were talking about it in my friends group because they loved, that whole thing with Rake. I watched it, day it came out, and I went, this is fucking awesome, but it felt like a video game. Like literally the entire train. That whole train segment from where basically he's like opening up a loot crate, getting a weapon out, Call of Duty, and he's on the front of the train from a person that died, and he picks up a minigun. I'm like, okay, this is a video game. Sisu does not ever once feel like a video game. This is almost grindhouse level cinema, where this should have been this, like J-Man said, gritty, nasty, old looking movie that my dad watched at one point and showed me. And you're just, as a kid going, holy shit, this is amazing. That's what this movie exudes. Like it accomplishes that. I admit it's a little clean. I would absolutely buy an 8mm version of this movie and want to watch it that way.
It needs to feel like there's that certain feel where with movies where you're like, I think I'm the only one that knows about this movie. I like where it's like, because everyone's like, John Wick is great and all that, and it is great. Let's not bash.
We're not bashing. We're not bashing it at all.
But like, it feels like it's like, yeah, I know about this movie that you don't know about. You know, like sometimes like guys with the massive collections, you know, you come over, it's like so you're looking through, you're like, what's this about? Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh man,
that's me.
Like, right, that's yes. Yeah, it's like I remember, like, you know, you pull out like a good one. A good one is for horror is Scarecrows, which is a movie that I've always loved.
That is a good one.
And it's like this. Oh, it's one of these. It's like this. So you're like, Scarecrows. What's this? Oh, you haven't seen Scarecrows? Oh shit, you're gonna watch it now. And you're like, damn, that was really good. And it's again these simple. And these movies all have a category. It is like Scarecrows. Actually, that's a great example that I just pulled out.
It really actually is. I like it.
It is a great example.
Yeah.
Same kind of ish premise, but horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and that's 86 minutes or something. These short movies, these directors who have a vision, they want to tell their story and then they want to leave. And they want you to walk away saying, I got to watch that again. It's very difficult to watch John Wick 4 multiple times. I have not watched it since the theater. I will watch it.
I bought it, but I've only watched it once. Yeah.
I will watch it.
I haven't either. Yeah.
I'll watch it.
I bought the Steelbook and I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. It's long. The problem is that no matter how good these films are, they're long. And when you start looking, runtime is very important for action, horror, and comedy. Comedy cannot sustain itself. Horror cannot. After a while, I don't care about being scared anymore. I'm not scared anyways. So same with action. After a while, you're like, I forgot what the first action scene was. So if I don't remember the first, I felt that way a little bit with John Wick 4, which to me, it's like 1, 2, and 3 are really high. And then 4 is like, you know, a little bit stepped down because I start to forget like, wait, what was that scene about? Like, why was that happening again? Whereas this, it's like everything makes sense because you're following one guy and the damage that he's doing and what's the damage that they're being done back to him. It's just back and forth. He nails them. They get the upper hand on him. Then he gets out of it. He nails him. And I like the fact that it's established that you know he's just going to escape. Like, there's never a point where I'm like, yeah, he's dying in this movie. Because the first time he gets out of whatever it was, I don't remember the first thing that happened to him, but like whatever it was, I'm like, okay, he's just getting out of everything now. I guarantee you he's going to win in the end for sure. And I like that. And then I like one up in it. You're like, okay, he's literally hanging. Okay, it's like, I'm like, well, I know it ain't over because I know this director has something up his sleeve that's going to help this guy escape and get back. And he does. And that's cool with short movies because you know that it's coming and you know something cool is coming fast and it's established quickly. These long movies, it is the killer of cinema. You can't rewatch them. The only reason, like RoboCop, I've seen it 1,000 times. It's a shorter movie. Even Terminator 1. I don't like the extended Terminator 2. I actually don't like extended Terminator 2 because I don't care about Robert Patrick going around and feeling around the room. I don't care about the microchip has to be reset. Like, okay, whatever. They fix, you know, like I don't care about any of that. I just want the normal Terminator 2, which already is slightly long, right? Like, you know, Terminator 1 is like perfect. Like perfect runtime. This movie's perfect runtime. John Wick 1, perfect runtime. Like it's important. It is important. Well, let's put more in. No, Sean said this. Storyboards. Where's your storyboards? It's like if you're just gonna have dialogue for no reason, like who cares? The Yahtzees are bad guys. I got it. I don't need a backstory. This guy, they say it on the thing. They pull a Steven Seagal. Okay, it's a Steven Seagal, but that is a Steven Seagal trope. Oh, he's the baddest guy.
Right.
And he used it, but he used it better than the recent Seagal movies that he's been in because he used it to generate hype. And you're like, oh yeah, here we go. Because we don't know this character, you know, and it's a new character. So I like having that. You're like, oh, he's an older guy. He doesn't look he looks badass. It's weird. It's very weird. He looks badass, but not for sure. You're kind of looking at him like, I bet you this guy's badass. Well, maybe not. I don't know. He's just an older guy. I don't know. Like, I like that.
That works how the director did it so that the Nazis are like that. Like, this is an old tough dude.
Yeah.
But how bad can he actually be?
Right.
You know,
that's the best thing about these kind of movies, though, is where you have the just how badass is this guy speech. And I love that. It's sort of like, you know, oh, this guy was, you got like On Deadly Ground, which might be probably the best one.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Arlie Ermy, you know, he was all the shopping mall, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are just the best moments where it's just like just how badass is this guy. And That's what I love. But I think this movie could almost be used as like a template on how you do an action movie, because it's storytelling without dialogue. It's see, don't tell, where so many Hollywood movies have to explain everything. Like, J-Man, you talk about this a lot, where movies have to explain this. Oh wait, you need the backstory to this. Oh wait, backstory to this. And it's like, no, we don't. This guy says one line of dialogue at the end of the movie, but we're on his side immediately. Why? Well, he has a pet dog and he has a horse and he looks after them, and he's minding his own business. And the Nazis are bad guys, and we're immediately on this guy's side.
Yep.
Because he's not looking for trouble. And they're like, well, this is what so many people could take note of. It's just like, you can tell this story, beginning, middle, and end. It's over 90 minutes, no sequel, no franchise. It's just one movie, and not everything has to be a franchise. So,
and that's what's going to suck is I just was reading stuff on this is now they're like, when's Sisu 2? And it's not greenlit, but they're like, well, it'll be 2025. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? I don't fucking want
another movie. Yeah.
I want this director to do another action movie for sure. I would love to see this actor and the other actors in other movies. I don't want Sisu 2. And that's the fucking problem is now it's instead of then what, now it's what's next. And what is next and what are we going to be able to make more money on? Because we caught lightning in this bottle. That means we can do it again, right? And that's not how it fucking works, people. Stop. Yeah,
and that's tough, the problem now is that they do get into this thing where they beat these great movies into the ground, and the movies as they progress become less and less quality. Fast. I know the Fast franchise is now on 10. It's going to 11 and all that.
Yep.
After 5, I checked out. I had to. I'm like, this is no longer what I was watching earlier. And if people are still into it, that's awesome. If they're into that thing, but to me, it's lived out its welcome, and there's a few franchises like that where they think that it goes back, and I've used this with Sean and J-Man a lot. It's simple economics, supply and demand. If you can generate the demand, you should bring the supply. But if the demand's not there, move to where the demand is. And I think nowadays there is a demand for movies like Sisu, which are original movies. Like I'm tired of revisiting these these franchises from years ago. My favorite, one was actually Wall Street Never Sleeps, the second one, because I talked to Sean about that when they were doing the sequel. And Sean's reaction was priceless. Is who was screaming for a sequel to Wall Street? Right? Like, show me this.
Are you ignoring my petition for Wall Street 2, Steven? No, okay, look. Sisu is a reactionary character. They do not get sequels. He reacts to someone. He's minding his own business. Someone nails him. That is the story. Indiana Jones can have 4 billion sequels because he is an action adventure archetype character. It's like, I go to find relics.
Yeah, he's a seeker.
He's a seeker. I proactively go and do stuff. Before he tried to get the idol, and he's like, I'm going to get it. And then he gets interrupted to go to get the ark. He's still, and then Mark is like, look, okay, forget about the idol for a second. There's some guys here. It's like, oh, he's interrupted. But he would, had they not shown up, he'd be going, I forgot where they said, Malaysia or something, wherever it was, he'd be going there to find the idol still, because he's an active character, he's a proactive character. Like Mission Impossible, the problem with the movies that have proactive characters that have gotten stale is that they're not reinventing the movie.
No.
It's like, that's why Temple of Doom is so good. It's like, oh, how does Temple of Doom compare to Raiders? It's not the same at all. It's like only Indiana Jones is the same. Same with Mission Impossible. They messed this up a little bit. It's like, have him, he can get a new team and maybe bring guys back or whatever, but it should be very distinct. Like, I need to be able to tell which Mission Impossible is which movie very easily.
Yeah, which I can't. Yeah.
They were close when it was 1, 2, and 3. And then it just went in. Now we have this long. And I love the Mission Impossible franchise.
Right.
I love it to death. But what's turned into now is, like Steven said, with the X, the the
Fast.
Fast and Furious, the Marvel, to the and to a lesser degree, John Wick is now everything has to be a spectacle.
Yeah.
Now it's what is the next big thing we do in this movie? What's the story about? Who gives a fuck about the story? You know, Tom Cruise is going to run a motorcycle off of a cliff, and he's actually going to do it. Cool. What's the rest of the story?
No, who cares?
Worry about
and that's
that.
the problem. And that's
Yeah.
what's been interesting about the latest Mission Impossible is it's not that good. I'm sorry, it just wasn't, and it hasn't been a hit. Nobody's talking about this, but it took nearly 2 weeks for it to make 100 million domestically. It's only made 130 million domestically.
Yeah, that's not great. And it's two parts. I already got to go to a movie knowing it's not going to end with a story cap. You know, like
Steve said that the other day. As soon as you saw something part one, you're immediately turning people off to like, oh, so I got to wait for.
If this had been Sisu part, if this had been Sisu part 1, I would have been less inclined to just hurry up and watch it. We probably wouldn't be doing the stream right now. It could be the exact same movie. Say they wanted to make it 3 hours and we made it right up to the middle, and then now we got to wait for the next movie to come out for the ending of it. Fuck that. I don't want to do that anymore. 90 minutes. Linear storytelling. And the other thing this Sisu has done is it kind of brought back this Greek god mythology to me. It's like he was touched by the gods. It was originally supposed to be titled The Immortal, and they changed it to Sisu, which is one a translation to Jesus in Finnish, and another is grit, determination, and a bunch of these other type, which I was like, okay, that fits if you know what that means. I thought the dude's name was Sisu when I
think everybody did. Yeah.
But if it was called The Immortal, then that kind of puts you in your head like, oh, because you watch this fucking movie and this dude's immortal. Like it's like he has been touched by the Greek gods to just go on this. You got gold, now you got to protect it. If you want that life that you want after this, you have to just clear everything. He helps the girls, but that wasn't his mission. They were just there. Okay, there's the girls. You're part of my plan now. You're going to drive this truck and just help me get onto this tank. After that, the girls are on their own pretty much. Yeah. And, you know, so that's another reason I can't have a sequel. The girl can't call this dude and go, hey, we're in trouble again. And he comes to rescue them, and he's rich, and now he's got weapons. How do you make a sequel to this movie?
And that was
he's got the money now.
Yeah,
he's got the money. Like
there's no drive.
He wanted the money. He got it. It's done. That's nonsense. This is the people who the people who immediately ask for a sequel. That's your red flag for they don't understand anything.
Yes,
that's what happened with Stranger Things. Stranger Things season 1 came out. I was like, wow, what a love letter to old 80s kind of movies. And everyone's like, we need to see part 2. I'm like, no. I didn't see season 2. We really don't. Oh. It ended perfectly. It's like, but there's still a monster. I know, because the monster always comes back in these things.
Exists.
That's the point. There's always a stinger in the Deadly Spawn. The whole entire goddamn hill that they're on was a monster. You're like,
the mountain came alive.
The mountain came alive. I was like, this is the greatest. It's like you're fighting these little creatures. They can't beat them. And then you find out that the entire goddamn city they're on is a monster. You're like, this is the greatest movie ever.
And it ends. And it's fantastic.
And that's it.
Then what happens? Then the guy who helped write it thought I needed to make a sequel to it and gave us fucking Metamorphosis, which doesn't make any sense and doesn't tie to this movie whatsoever.
I have not even seen that. I'm not.
Don't bother.
I'm not going to bother.
I haven't even seen Deadly Spawn, so. I don't even know what's Conquest as well. I've never even heard of that. What's that?
What's Conquest?
You're not on my Facebook Conquest group.
You can't.
Oh no, you're on my war group. Sorry.
I'm not in any groups anymore because I got.
You're right.
I've deliberately not joined any groups except mine because all the problems I had. So.
Well, Conquest is that poster. I got that big, huge poster. I put the little DVD next to it to show how enormous I got the biggest poster. That's one that was all bent. Remember, I bought a poster from Italy and it was all bent.
Oh yeah.
It's an Italian sword and sorcerer horror movie, basically.
Yeah, it's by Lucio Fulci.
By Fulci, the zombie dude. But Deadly Spawn is a micro budget invasion movie that's kind of like Slither, like this it's like where Slither got the idea of these little slugs that grow into this bigger one, and this little townhouse of kids have to fight it at the end, and it is
spoilers.
come on, it's 1980, and I haven't spoiled anything. You need to watch the movie because
You
it's
still need to
so
watch it. It's
fucking
awesome.
good, and it's all cheese. It's all micro budget and cheese, and it's so good.
But it's so good, and like the ending, you're just like, what? Like, you're like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
You spoiled the ending for him.
I spoiled it. I thought, well, geez, I've had that movie in my collection since the dawn of time. It's like somebody, I would have shown it to somebody. It's Sean. We watched that.
I've seen it before, man.
Yeah, okay.
Show it to Owen now. Owen's your new mark. You get to show him that.
Scarecrows is first because like that is an awesome 85 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Dude,
it is.
It is awesome when that guy looks through the scope. Oh man, yeah, you're like, oh shit, what the hell? Where's that guy? That was a great gag, man. I was like, yes, this is good. And I got the unrated version.
What we were talking about, wasn't that Taken? Like, wasn't that the mistake? Is doing Taken 2?
Yes, we did not need a sequel yet. To be honest, it could be argued that Die Hard didn't need any sequels either.
I agree with that.
I think to a point, we can enjoy them later on, but it didn't need it.
No.
Yeah.
It's one thing that I've always kind of been on Arnold's side a lot of times is because they tried to do Commando 2. They tried to do all these, and he's like, why? Where would the only one they convinced him to do was Terminator 2, and he almost still didn't do it. You know, it was that was when they had to commit. That was when he was the highest paid actor for a movie at that time. That was unprecedented what he got paid for Terminator 2 because he didn't want to do it. And he also was pissed off at first because they're like, you're a good guy and you're not going to kill anyone. He's like, I'm the fucking Terminator. You're like, no, you're going to be a good guy and you're not going to kill anyone. It's like, this is bullshit. Yeah. But now it's like the highest grossing, action movie of its time. And it's adored and I love it. I'm glad he did it. But it's also like, I don't need True Lies 2. I don't need Red Heat 2.
I just need True Lies on 4K or Blu-ray. That would be fine.
That would be nice.
You made me throw my mic. God damn it.
They made a True Lies television series.
Yes.
Newsflash, it got canceled after one season. Right. Because it was all explained in the movie. It's over. The story's over. What are you going to do?
I didn't need it. They
did it with Snowpiercer. Why is there a Snowpiercer TV series? That movie was a masterpiece.
Stop adapting popular movies into TV shows. Like I think there's like Mr. and Mrs. Smith as well. Why?
Yeah. What was that for?
Rush Hour. Why?
Lethal Weapon.
You take away all the stars from the movies, cast a bunch of nobodies in these things, and then they die, and you're like, oh, why wasn't this popular? Because nobody wanted it.
Right.
Yeah. But then they'll go, well, then no one wants the movie now, right? Because you didn't watch the television show. You want the name on your screen. I'm like, no, it's got to be fucking good to do this. You can't just slap the name on and go, well, everyone's going to watch it. We'll try it, but afterwards, you're not going to get any rewatchability out of me if it stunk. That's the worst. You think this is Star Wars?
Let's put the word star and war. Sean and I talked about this we were at a comic show on the weekend. If you put star and wars together, then it's just like, oh, this is great, Star Wars. Like, but it's not Star Wars. It has nothing to do with Star Wars. If it's not a movie,
flamethrower. Like,
yeah, this is the Gene Simmons rule. If the Kiss logo is on it, that's it. It's like Kiss bubblegum. Like, what does that have to do with bubblegum?
I almost wore my Kiss Destroyer shirt tonight. That would have.
I also have Destroyer. We both have the same.
But it would have been hilarious. It's just like
Gene Simmons doesn't miss a trick, man. It's like toilet covers, whatever. He doesn't.
No, it's business, man.
Yeah. And toilet covers. Like I'm pooping on Kiss or whatever.
Dude, you can get a Kiss coffin. You can be buried with Kiss.
There is a Kiss coffin. Yeah,
there is. Yeah. Not cheap.
Yeah.
Well, you've looked it up. And they should do it where like you could be the fifth member, like it's all around you, and then where you lay there's a window, so it's like you have like a body, and then there's a window for your head so you can lay down.
Patent pending.
Yeah. Gene Simmons is in the chat. What does he need?
It's a cease and desist. We're giving too many trade
making unnecessary sequels is as old as the hills, though.
Oh,
so,
it is.
Manigan 2, Speed 2, Teen Wolf 2,
Home Alone 2,
Circuit 2,
T-00.
Yeah, Teen Wolf. Yeah, because he's another as well. Teen Wolf as well. He's also a Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
That was
Speed 2 is
clever.
awful. Speed 2 is one of the worst sequels ever. I think it's awful. Yeah.
And look at this. They have to explain,
Yeah.
why aren't you with him anyway? Rip my hair out. It's like, I hate this crap. It's like, okay, Sandra Bullock is not the Speed character. Like, it's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Like, if he's on a different assignment, even Die Hard, it's wishy-washy. He's a cop, so he could. The problem is that he is an action-oriented character. He's not a reactionary character. He'll do cop things, but the Die Hard premise was that he was reactionary. So it just so happened that he was a cop. Like Ethan Hunt goes on missions. So you're like, okay, this is a new mission. Indiana Jones hunts for relics, right?
Exactly.
His job is a cop, but he wasn't on a case. That's why Die Hard is weird. It can kind of be okay because he's a cop, but then you start saying, "What, this happened to him again?" It's like Home Alone. What, they lost him again? They lost him again. They lost him again.
The whole thing was like with Die Hard is he tried to do the right thing and call the cavalry in. He tried to call the cops in. He tried to get it. Right. He was not trying to stop the terrorists until they dicked around, and he's and then you have the wife involved. That's a little different and makes him more reactionary than I think of him seeking out to take out the terrorists. And they kind of kept that with most of the movies where he's like, I don't want to do this shit. I keep getting thrown into it. And it works a little bit with Die Hard. And Sisu is, you guys just got in this dude's way. That's really gold. That shot when he uncovers that gold and he kind of falls back in the hole with that light reflecting on his face was just pure movie magic to me. Was just this whole like the arc, not the Ark of the Covenant, but the Pulp Fiction where they open the briefcase. And it's just, and what sucks is Quentin Tarantino finally just said, we just stuck a light bulb in a briefcase and that's how that worked. But he did say, he goes, the whole point was you're not supposed to fucking know what's in the briefcase. Your imagination's better than anything that I put in there. Now, Sisu works. I got that feeling back, even though I know it's gold, but I saw that relief on his face that I have trudged through so much shit in my life. Yeah. And now I'm out here digging in literal dirt, trying to survive. There it is. Now I get that drive from him on why. If it was a handful of gold, fucking give it to the Nazis. I'll go dig another hole. He had 2 saddlebags of huge, chunky, funky gold. I don't think gold miners now find gold this big as what Sisu had. So that dude knew what he had, and it's like, I will kill everyone for my gold. And that's what he does. And I believe that because of how everything led up with no dialogue spoken.
Yeah, and
it's a payoff. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so it's basically almost like he's got to go through another war, right? Because I almost look at the gold as his recompense for what he had to do during.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
right. He this is his payment, and then the bastards who he was fighting in the war, he's got to overcome them again to get out of it.
Right.
It's like the concept is simple, but it's unbelievable. The connections, like just so much is said, and that is storytelling. That is what you do. This is how you create something. I will say this I'm not again being up on John Wick, but one thing John Wick did really well is the legend of John Wick was never really said that much. It was
that first movie is perfection when he's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
The Baba Yaga. Yeah. That's where it's kind of gotten away from. And by God, if they bring it back, they better go back to that to keep me wanting more. John Wick, the whole story could have been told in 3 movies, if we're all being honest.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go,
it really should have been. Yeah.
It could have been done in that. But I'll tell you this, had John Wick never got a sequel after number 1, I would still be fucking watching John Wick going, this is a great fucking movie. Yeah. This is perfect action and storytelling because it fits that mood. It would be up there with Sisu and Nobody and all these other movies that are just like, here's your story, here's your hero, go. And we give you a fantastic story and layout and everything. I mean, they're talking about an Extraction 3 now. And as much as I love Extraction 1 and 2, I'm also going, This dude's beat the shit out of in these last 2 movies. How much more shit are we going to put, rake through? How much more spectacle are we going to put him through? And it's like, I don't want that anymore.
I haven't seen those, but like the trick of it is that every movie needs to be completely different. If different means a different setting, then do that. Like if he's even with I don't like the London. What is it? The London, like the Fallen London, and so they keep. So if you're gonna do this with Ethan Hunt or Indiana Jones or whatever, Indiana Jones, it's just pick a new country, take their religion, take something from their religion, whatever it is. Boom, there you go. The traps and the tombs will look like their style. That's it. And you just pick every country there is, so you can make tons of Indiana Jones movies. Same with Extraction, I don't know, but if you're doing like, Extraction, this guy's a cop or whatever he is, operative, he has to be in a completely new location every time to where the location becomes the signature of the piece. So you're like, oh, I like the one in Egypt. Oh, I like the one in Japan. Fast and the Furious, to me, there's part 1 and Japan, because I'm like, there's the one in Japan with the drifting, because that was cool and we didn't see that in the other movies. And it didn't have Vin Diesel. I'm like, I know, but does it matter? It's about cars. It's in Japan. It looked cool to me. I like that movie. The first one's the first one because you know the first one. He's undercover, and he's
but the first one has nothing to do with the franchise anymore.
Pretty much.
There's nothing that ties back to the first movie.
No,
they're not about. And if you're gonna, so they were on the right track in the sense of like, okay, now we're in Japan. Well, what's the underground racing scene like in Japan? What's the underground racing scene like in Russia? Is there something in Russia? Right. Like, do they even do racing? Maybe I don't know. That's the thing. So Extraction, pick your country, do one in Russia, do one in Egypt, do one in Japan.
That's what they've done. So
maybe that's the way.
It is like 1 and 2 works. And I never even thought about the Olympus Has Fallen movies because I love 1 and 2. The third one just felt like it didn't need to exist. And it's because there's not a big, now he's supposedly set up as the bad guy, and it's like, I don't like this. It's the exact same.
I hate that storyline.
I'm going to go see my dad.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I like the first one. He, redeems himself in the eyes of the president.
Yeah, that's works.
And the second one, we are now going to go to London, and now he's back in the job that he was not in before, and lost in the first one. Now he's back in it, and now he's the man. He's older. He doesn't want to have to run to London, and all this just happens while he's there when they're attacked. And now I get this whole cityscape that's totally different from the first movie. It works. Number 3, no, didn't need part 3 whatsoever.
You need the angry protagonist. You need the guy who sits there and says, "This is bullshit. Who is this?" And just kicks their ass. Like, I enjoy Gerald Butler, his character, Mike
Manning.
Yeah, Mike Manning.
Yeah, Manning. I love him in, and Angel Was Fallen. It wasn't as good. It definitely wasn't as good as London, and it wasn't as good as Olympus. London, to me, is the best one. I
love him in London.
A lot of his stuff, like the shots and all that. I think London is the best. But I like in the second one, I got pumped up because he was like, "Fuck you guys," and he's like like attacking them. Like, that's why I like John McClane. John McClane was, like he just like he gets mad. That's why I like Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon 2. That he's fighting the South African dude. And he gets angry and he's like taking shots and you hear him cursing the guy. Like, you want to see you want to see the main character give a shit. And we've gotten away from that a bit where it's like everyone's trying to be cool. Everyone's trying to, look cool and strike that pose. Where's the guy who's like pissed off to be in this situation? And that's why I kind of like Sisu is that this guy doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to keep doing this. He had his gold. He just wants to get on his horse, take his dog, go to the bank, cash in his chips, go live his life. Yep. Can't do it. He's still stuck in the frigging war. Screw this. I'm going to kill all of these these guys.
That movie also nails the fact that we get that good voiceover with the map at the beginning that sets up every bit of information. Like you can show Nazis and then you could be like, okay, this is probably World War II, but what's going on? That they're literally telling you about the entire, I forget what it's called, but it
the
was
Lapland thing,
where Finland really had to basically force Germany to surrender, push them out of the borders, and Germany went on a scorched earth campaign. Like we're losing, but we're going to take everything from you.
Yeah.
That little bit of exposition at the beginning is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I didn't need the voiceover guy coming back in later halfway through the movie trying to explain to me something that's going on. You know, I needed that. The only dialogue from the Nazis and a few other people, and then the ending. And it just worked so well. Yeah. Like we can't praise this movie enough, honestly. It's a movie that everyone should watch. Period.
Yeah. And it is the return of the epic bad guy death, which I have missed for so long.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah, I just got so spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie, but this is the kind of thing. To me, it's like True Lies, like sort of ridiculousness. It's sort of you're fired kind of moment. And this is where he's fighting him on the plane, clips him onto a bomb, drops the bomb out of the plane, and he's like, "Fuck yeah!" and falls on the ground, and explodes. And I was like, "Amazing! That is."
It's very Wile E. Coyote,
total cartoon.
It's you expect it, but you're also like, I can't believe I'm watching this happen right now. And I also right after that, he's like, oh, I can breathe finally. This dude just hooked onto the bottom of a plane with a pickaxe, punched his way through with the pickaxe. While the old dude flying the plane, when it's just an old plane, it makes noises till it got loud enough that they're both looking at the back, going, I think we need to check this out.
They're so wonderfully stupid.
They are. But he does all this, and he finally, for what I feel like is the first time, gets to sit down and take a breath.
Yeah.
And the airplane starts nosing down, and he realizes that the pilot's dead. And he's also... like anyone else, I'm sure one of us would have tried to grab the stick. Like, can I fly this motherfucker? No, Sisu's like, all right, where's a parachute? Not a parachute in this piece of shit anywhere. And straps his ass into the plane and just like, fuck it, the gods have got me this far. Let's see what happens. And I remember sitting there watching the plane crash. And I'm like, I have no idea. Like to me, this movie, he could have died at the end. And I would have been shocked, but also like, well, there's no guarantee he was going to win at the end of this movie. He beat the bad guy, but he could die too. And I wouldn't have been upset either. But then it shows that he landed in a swamp, and I'm like, oh, fucking course he did.
I had no doubts. I was like, he's winning. He's gonna have all the gold.
Early on, he was immortal, and I was like, no, this guy's the immortal badass. He's not going to die. He's going to be like.
I'm so glad that's what they did. Yeah, but I was just, I literally went, of course it's in a swamp, and Rob and my son are like just laughing at me being in this movie, just like sucked in. Like I'm just enjoying the hell out of it.
Throat singing means that he's godlike. That's what that throat singing is there for.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, okay, well, I guess he lived.
Well, the thing is, the guys making this movie are fans, so they're not making it through a textbook or through like whatever propaganda they need to do. It's like they want to make a cool movie, so they themselves look back at it and say, okay, if I'm watching this movie as an action fan, would I want this character to die? And they're like, no. But then they're like, okay, well, let's really put him through the ringer. But then it's like, well, it's still a movie. We got to have something where maybe the audience is like, oh, will he get killed? To give some a little bit of suspense, right?
Which I think worked, yeah.
Which it worked, right? But I just, as soon as it started, I was like, I understand this guy. I know what's happening. I know what's going to, like, not to spoil Maniac Cop Part 3, but at the end of every Maniac Cop movie, there's always a hand. So at the very end of Maniac Cop Part 1, his hand comes kind of back out. The end of Maniac Cop Part 2, they throw the badge on the thing, and his hand breaks out of the casket. And he grabs it. Now, this is the first time I've ever watching the Maniac Cop movies. My buddy's showing them to me, all three in one go, like really, like 1, 2, and 3 in order. So we got to part 3, and it's coming to the end. I was like, uh-oh. I'm like, it doesn't look like there's going to be a hand. And I said to him, it's a different Sean, not this Sean. I was like, Sean, I said, I know there's going to be a hand at the end. I can guarantee. I'm saying this while the movie's going. I was like, I know there's going to be a hand. I said, but if for some reason Bill Lustig did not put this hand at the end, this trilogy is fucking trash. I will trash this entire trilogy if there's no hand at the end. And he was like, what? I'm like, I'm dead serious. Because I loved part 1. He's like, do you want to watch Maniac Cop part 3 or Night of the Demons part 2? I was like, Maniac Cop part 3.
Yeah.
We usually watch 5 movies in a row. So we usually do 5 when I'd go to his place. So that we'd watch the 2 Night of Demons, but just not. I was like, I got to watch Maniac Cop 3. And I'm literally like, I will say F this entire trilogy if there's no hand at the end. I was like, but there's going to be a hand because I understand what Bill Lustig's doing here. I know this is the last one, but there's going to be and there's a hand. I was like, I was like, I knew it. and I'm like, this trilogy is genius. And I sometimes I connect with the guy. Like I was like, yeah, I know what you're going for, buddy. This movie's great. They shouldn't make a sequel. If he makes a sequel, it'll be like The Matrix. If it's like if there's a sequel, then there's outside interference.
Yeah.
I'm positive.
I was getting ready to say this movie, I don't feel like a studio's doing this.
No.
Do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. Tweak this, tweak that. This one doesn't feel like that. But
No, I
part
don't think
2,
so.
because they'll look at that was a little budget. Even I don't know what this movie made, but even if it made 20 million, that's a win on a small budget with not a huge marketing campaign either.
Right.
And I imagine that it would be a studio going, well, try this now. Well, now you're in the big leagues. Now you got to really kind of up it a little bit. And I don't want that to happen here. You know?
I don't think he'll make a sequel unless he really wants to and he has a good idea. He seems like a principled guy. Like we would have seen this guy in the MCU by now, and that hasn't happened. And that's got to be his decision because people probably have been coming for him, right? So, I mean, I didn't realize he made that Santa movie, the
Rare Exports.
Yeah, I saw that too. So, I mean, he made these movies. It's not like they're, he'll make something else. He was going to make a sci-fi comedy thing.
I saw that.
Terry and Miss Universe or something weird.
Yeah, it sounds intriguing. Like I would watch it.
I'd watch it. Yeah.
This was different things. He's not looking to do the same thing over and over, which is good.
Yeah.
And this movie only happened because he needed to do something with a smaller crew because this was filmed during COVID.
Yeah.
So it was like, if anything good ever came out of that damn thing, I got Sisu, I guess. I mean, that's fine, but it worked. I mean, that just shows you can use a small crew, a small budget, and a good story, and you can make a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Like that. Look at every PM Entertainment movie.
Yeah, but you need creativity, and you need creativity because it's 90. Yeah. Remember, it's 90 minutes. I remember in film school, people had to do movies, right? Yeah. And they couldn't come up with ideas. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, you can't think of an idea. And Steven and I were in several courses together, and there's another girl with us, and she was like, yeah, these people can't come up with ideas. You can't come up with ideas. I have so many ideas. I can't choose which one to do. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, which one can I actually accomplish with the money that I, with my capabilities in university? Like, what can I actually do? Like, I have so many ideas. I don't know which one to pick. And people are like, I can't think of anything. It's like, well, why are you in the, I don't know. I think people are like, I like movies. I like movies. Okay. You're hired. What's your idea for this movie? What's the character going to be like? Have you written anything? Do you have a synopsis? Do you have anything? No.
They know the skills of creating film. They just don't. The storytelling aspect fails them, and we see this now with
all the time.
All the time. And it's like I was telling you, we were at a comic show, J-Man and I, and
so Sean and I just like talking, we just yelled the entire time.
We're driving over there, and we were talking shit about movies, right? And I was like, I hate this has been happening since God, I'm gonna say it, Disney bought Lucasfilm, and the thing is, like, I hate it when every single person who makes these Star Wars TV shows and movies complains openly to the press about how they don't know what makes Star Wars and they have to figure it out. What are you figuring out?
Right.
It's like it's world mythology and it's
fairy
history,
tale
and it's ideas and it's fairy tales. It's like I can come up with a million Star Wars ideas. Why can't you figure this out? Because they know the practicalities of film. They know everything about the technical aspect of film, but storytelling doesn't inspire them, doesn't get them excited. There's no ideation from that because they're dead inside. It's like they know how to point and shoot and light things and make things look great, but they can't tell a story to save their lives. And that's the caliber of filmmaker right now in Hollywood, and has been for years and years. It's always these guys that come up, like James Cameron is great because he always has great ideas, but he's a rare bird. Right. For the most part, it's like, I'm not going to name names, but you know who they are, Like,
so the thing is that there was two kinds of people I ran into in film class. So people who had actual passion for films and were fans of films, and the people who got status from deconstructing and ridiculing films.
Right.
And what I found is that I walked in as the first type. And the people who were of the second type were the ones who usually took over. And I found that the TAs actually gravitated towards that type. The people who would sit down and deconstruct and sort of, laugh under their breaths about, popular cinema.
This is what I would do. Or if I had the chance to ever work on that. Yeah,
exactly. And the problem is with that is that you're never creating anything. You're just breaking down what other people create. So you could maybe be a film critic, but you can never be a creator. You can never be a filmmaker. And too many of these critics became filmmakers, and they don't have a passion for film. They don't actually like film. They don't like it. They just see it as something to do. But the problem is that you're in an industry that people dream about being in. A lot of people would love to be filmmakers. Hell, everyone on this panel would probably love to be involved in film in the creative sort. Sure. But you're not doing it, and these other people are treating it as jobs. And they're not, the problem is that it's just like any other office, any other industry. There's people really bad at what they do. In fact, there's probably more people who are bad at what they do than who are good at what they do. But it's magnified because you're in an industry that is A, hard to get into, and B, that a lot of people want to get into.
Okay, my first day in that class that Stephen is talking about, I wore an Evil Dead 2 shirt, and we walked out, and Max R came over. He's like, "Dude, I see you got Evil Dead 2 shirt." I was like, "You fucking see you correctly. You got good vision, buddy. That's what I'm wearing." And he's like, "Hell yeah." I was like, "Fucking A." I was like, "That's it. We're buddies. Immediate, instantaneous friends." Because
we just come best friends. Yep.
Yeah. It's like there's like 30 people in that class, and they're all the type 2 that Steve was saying. They're all ass wipes. It's like this guy's like Evil Dead 2 is like, fucking A, we're buddies. Immediately. That's the power of Evil Dead 2. That's the power of all. I was wearing the sword. Charlie's can relate to this one. I was wearing the sword shirt.
Yeah.
Right. Who was with me, Steve?
I was there with you.
So this guy's walking by. He's from Chicago or something.
Yeah.
We've never seen. I'm in a line. He comes. He's like, the sword. I was like, yes. That's it, friends. And it's a power metal band for those. And we're like, yeah, shit. And then he's like, do you read Elric? Right? Moorcock. I was like, no. He's like, you need to read Elric. I'm like, I'm reading it. I bought all the books immediately. I've never met this guy. I don't know anything. He's like, you like Conan, right? Like, he's literally like, do you like Conan? I'm like, that's fucking dumb. Of course.
It's the dumbest question I've ever heard in my entire life.
And he's like, well, yeah, that's it. But everyone else, Steve is right. This isn't even that. This is us in university. Now it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because the people that were in university when we were there should have had the same access as I had. Like, but now there's access to everything. Yeah. You can find I bring up Evil Dead 2 again. Evil Dead 2 is so difficult to find. I had a VHS copy. Like, it was to the point where my buddy Sean was like, oh, I found Evil Dead 1. It's like, I'll give you another, like, we're finding movies for each other. I'm like, dude, like, I remember when I got Maniac Cop 3 from a convenience store that had a small section of movies. I was like, oh my God, Maniac Cop 3. I remember when I got Prison, right? Like, it's like, I remember all these movies, and it was so hard. Now, click of a, Steve's like, can you loan me Sisu? Sure, give me a minute. There, I'm loaning it to you. So right? But before, it was impossible. We would have never have found these movies. And now they have access, but it seems like they know less. Like, I feel like I was consuming every action, all the genre pictures, action, horror, sci-fi, consuming them. It's like, Sean's like, Conquest, what's this? This looks cool. Let's go to my house and watch it now.
Yeah.
There wasn't like, oh, when do you want to watch this? It's like, we would go, we each buy a bunch of movies. Let's go to J-Man's fucking right now and watch everything. And we'd watch like 4 movies right there. And it's like, what are these people doing? It's like Lucio Fulci. Oh my God, he made a sci-fi or you made a fantasy movie, watching it now. Like, there wasn't like, oh yeah, we'll get around to it. These filmmakers, they don't care about it. Like, where's their passion? What are they pumped up for? You could tell when they talk in these behind the scenes things they're watching. It's like, oh, I filmed, I don't know, Eternals. I always beat that one up. Okay, I'm sorry, we're a Jack Kirby fan. Who's Jack Kirby? Okay, you're fucking done. Get out of here. It's like, I don't need you in this movie. It's like, what happened to the fans making movies?
Because
fans are the bad guys now.
We're the bad guys,
like,
right?
The director of Secret Invasion was like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck about the bad reviews." Does it really? Because like Secret Invasion was the biggest piece of shit I've seen.
It's
like
boring.
The worst.
I haven't even finished it.
Yeah,
I watched 2 episodes.
It's Secret Invasion in name only. Yeah, the great story in the comics, and then you don't do anything.
I watched 1 episode and went, I just can't get into this.
The director was told not to read the comics. That's what
Of course. Why would you want to read the source material? Of course.
And then now it's like the worst. It's an embarrassment for them because now the media is actually firing back and saying, "Yeah, this is crap. We can't hold our silence anymore."
Right.
And it's like, well, guys, what is your vision here? You took this IP, you own it, and you're not doing anything with it anymore. And you're ridiculing it and belittling it. Why don't you just not make MCU anymore then?
Better to not make it.
Line that literally pumped lifeblood back into Marvel when Bendis and those guys were doing Secret Invasion. I mean, I bought everything when that series came out. From Deadpool on, Skrulls were fucking bad guys. And I watched Miss Marvel, and I went, "Why are the Skrulls the good guys?"
Captain Marvel.
Ms.
Marvel was when the comic was good. That's the only reason I'm saying that.
Brie fucking Larson, whatever. And I'm watching this movie going, why are the Skrulls good guys?
Yeah, that's dumb.
Like, this is the dumbest piece of shit. They're never going to fight the Fantastic Four now. What the fuck is going on? Exactly. But now they're all like, well, we just want to go our own version of it. We're going to go do our own thing of it. Well, that's fine if you know the source material at least a little bit. Like maybe you know a little different way to take something that maybe be interesting, going, oh wow, that really does work. Why didn't they think of that? Now it's, I just have characters in name, throw it on the screen, and people are going to come watch it opening weekend. We get a big number for that first week, and no one gives a shit that by the 3rd, 2nd, 4th, 5th week, it's fucking tanked down into the trash. Because all we're going to do is talk about that first week. Oh, we made X, $1 million. We made X $1 million this one. What's it making right now? No one's fucking watching it at all. It's why they won't give us streaming numbers now. Oh, it's out. Everyone binge watched it the first week. How many of these shows has people been rewatching? Not a goddamn one. You know why? Because I don't watch a goddamn one after I watch the first run. Like, seriously, it has to be a specific show. I'll sit down and watch Justified 3 fucking times through that series before I will watch any of the Marvel movies a second, or the Marvel TV series a second time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get back to what J-Man was saying, though, like, why is that best way? It's simple, and it sucks, but it's simple. Back in the day, you had to work to be a fan. You had to work. You had to find these things. Yeah. You had to go and seek them out. You had to, especially if you're a kid, you didn't have a lot of money. So you have, like, money to rent 2 movies. You got to make those 2 bullets count, right? Yeah. Like, you didn't have access. You had to be a fan, and you had to work. And the people who worked were passionate about it because you had to work for it. Now it's too easy. I can get anything. To J-Man's point, absolutely correct. I can get anything. But now I don't have to work for it. I don't have to show passion towards it. I can become knowledgeable on anything just by simply reading the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, that's what they do.
That's it.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. That's what we're up against half the time doing a podcast. You know, we all have the same trivia. We all have the same information. So if I just wanted to be that kind of show where I just went, this happened. Oh, did you know this directed? And it's fine if you want to do that from time to time, but I'd rather just show you my enthusiasm for a movie. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like when we had Eoin on for Expendables 2, we didn't break down the, you know, every little scene about that movie. We went, you know how fucking badass it was when Chuck Norris showed up? That was awesome. Music was wrong, but it was still fucking awesome. That's what it's about, man. And
your experience.
They can't do either. The thing is that, like, you can still be a fan of all these cool movies and still make them. I hate to keep bringing up Terrifier because I bring up Terrifier all the time. But like that guy, like I went up to the Terrifier director and I said to him, I said, is Terrifier 3 going to be Army of Darkness or Day of the, he's like, it'll be Day of the Dead. I didn't even finish talking. And he said, it'll be like Day of the Dead. And he understood exactly what I meant because the first film was the first film in Terrifier was very gritty, low budget, gritty. The second film was wacky, funny, maybe too funny, just like Evil Dead 2.
Way too long, though.
Yeah, it's long. Yeah, Evil Dead 2 and also and Dawn of the Dead, which is the big Dawn of the Dead, much bigger. Evil Dead 2, much bigger, crazier, funnier, wackier. But then the third movie of Army of Darkness took it even further, made it even crazier and wackier. Yeah. But Day of the Dead brought it back down. Mm-hmm. So he understood just from me saying, is Terrifier 3 going to be Army of Darkness or Day of the Dead? He's like, it'll be like Day of the Dead. He finished my sentence and he's like, I understand exactly what you're saying. It's Day of the Dead. I'm like, awesome. That's and we didn't have to talk anymore.
Right.
Right?
It's a secret handshake, man. Yeah.
Right?
It's it.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, where's that? Like, you talk to anybody who's made any of these movies, right? It's like they can't talk to you that way. And if you try, they're like, oh, you know, I don't care about these things. It's like, why are they getting these people to make these movies that don't care? It's like, I'm not going to make a Shakespeare film if I haven't read the play. Why don't I, you know, which one haven't I read? I haven't read Othello. That's the one I'm doing. I don't. No, I know it's a joke, right? But this isn't that a joke? Right.
Yeah.
But isn't that an absolute joke?
Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like,
why aren't these people that they're putting in our movies, and I'll just say it's our movies, why are they putting these type of directors and stuff? Give them the fucking art shit. Give them the Oscar nominated fucking movies that they don't care about how much money it made, but how many awards are you going to go win? Go do that fucking movie. Don't touch my shit. You go over there, give me real fans of what I love, you know, give me back my type of directors, you know, our fucking everything just left my brain. All of our old school, you know, action and sci-fi directors, and give us the new breed of those guys, not the guy that's going, I'm going to make this the King's Speech, but it's going to be in a Marvel movie.
Well, yeah, no, it's the fresh take aspect of it, right? It's like that's what these studios always go for, but it's
fresh take. They were.
I always go back to like Ronnie Yu, was that the guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason.
So yeah, Freddy versus Jason. It's like
got the whole making of.
So they had tried to make this many times, and every time they did, it had almost nothing to do with Freddy and Jason. And then they got this Ronnie Yu guy, and then Ronnie Yu said in one of these articles, I think it was was it Cinescape or was it Fangoria?
It's Fango. They did a whole special on the making of everything.
He was like, first thing I did was watch all of the Freddys and all of the Jasons, right?
Take notes. Hold on. Take notes. Filmmakers, take notes. This felt so. What's happening here? Sean is describing a new filmmaker, who's a very talented filmmaker, but has not worked in the genre of Friday or the horror or the franchise genre of either of those. So what did he do, Sean? This is fascinating. So what happened?
He watched all of the movies, and then he had to write a manifesto. And the manifesto said, Freddy must be in this movie. Jason must be in this movie. They must fight. He had to write all these things
I
down.
fucking have this. I have this in paper.
Yeah.
I have this in physical. He had to write Freddy has to be Freddy and Jason has to be, promise
Jason
you,
doesn't talk. Freddy invades people's dreams. It's like he had to write the basics.
Yes.
Like on down paper, it's like, these are the things I want in the script. That's what it's going to be, right? Because like they had one screenplay where a brand new character comes and overshadows these other two. It's like, what are you doing, right? So he just wrote the bare basics of it and stuff. But like you kind of need a guy who gets invested that way. It's like I don't think that like these things were maybe his favorites before coming into this project, but he wanted to do the best of that project he could. So he immersed himself in the lore. He wrote down what it should be, and then I mean the movie's pretty good for what
I love it.
For what it's supposed to be. Yeah,
probably my favorite of the Freddy or Jason movies. I watched it more than any of the others.
I love Jason X.
And it's something to do with like the Hollywood mindset as well, because I remember I don't know if you know the filmmaker Shekhar Kapoor. He did Bandit Queen. He did like Indian movies, right?
Okay.
But at one point they went through a whole bunch of different directors to make the rebooted Superman in the 90s. And one of them was this guy, Shekhar Kapoor, because he made Elizabeth R., which made it to the Oscars and everything. And they're like, let's get this guy, up and coming filmmaker. And he's an Indian guy. And he's like, okay. And he said this in an interview. He was like, Superman's going to have the tights. He's going to have the trunks. He's going to have the cape. He's going to fly. He had to say all this because John Peters at the time didn't want any of this stuff, right? He goes like, if I were making a Superman movie, he'd have all the powers, he'd fly. He's Clark Kent, he's got the tights, he's got the trunks, and then he was on the project for a few months and he got let go. So,
and Ronnie, you also did Bride of Chucky.
Yes,
which
that was cool
invigorated the series.
Yeah,
because the first movie is a classic. I love part 2 even more. Part 3 is still a fun movie, but you're like, okay, it's wearing thin.
Yeah.
Right? He's on the military base, like, this is wearing thin.
That's good parts, but it's not the first two. Yeah.
Then it's like, whoosh, it's like, let's have a girl doll, and they could fight. They could be. It's like they're a nagging couple and stuff. Oh my god! And it did get a bit silly, but they kept the gore. And Chucky, he changed it with the times. He's still the trigger phrase of, well, he had to take it in a new direction or invest, something unexpected or whatever. He still did that, but kept all the Chucky tropes. And Freddy versus Jason, it's like there's teenagers who are Freddy teenagers. They get killed in their dreams. There's Jason teenagers who get killed in a brutal way by Jason. And then they literally fight in the dream world. Then they fight in the physical world. It was this so difficult, but to the point where there needs to be someone writing this as a manifesto. Like, wow, they were going to do one where it was going to be Freddy and Jason as a court case.
Yes.
Like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah. And there's
Freddy VJ. In other news, Freddy v. Jason has been overturned. Many people are upset over it. Like it's like it's the dumbest thing. Yeah, the Fred heads. And there's a guy.
There's a cult. Yes,
there's a cult led by this guy who worships Freddy. It's like, I'm sorry, why is there a new character? It's like, well, he's this new villain. There's a new villain in Freddy. Yeah. We don't need a new villain. We want the villains we got.
Yeah.
To bring this back to Sisu, the guy
Sisu's
followed
a great
the play.
movie.
No, he followed the play. It matters. He followed the playbook. He followed the playbooks of the people that wrote them. You want to make an action movie? Don't look at anything new. You can look at John Wick if you want to, because they're fun movies, but really you need to go back to the beginnings of it. You need to watch Charlie Chaplin and get film ideas, and Buster Keaton and watch all that. Watch films. Number 2, study the genre you're doing. If you want to make a slasher movie, go look. You should be a slasher movie fan. Mm-hmm. Right? Or watch a bunch of them and write notes, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, people really like it when the main killer doesn't show up at all at the entire movie and dies at the end, like in Halloween Ends. No, nobody wants that. Nobody likes that. It's like, oh shit, nobody likes that. Shit, I wrote the wrong thing. Sorry. Like, it's like dumb.
How did they fucking green like that?
I don't know. I only threw that in the bus because I tried to watch it yesterday, and I I can't.
I turned it off after about 20-25 minutes. I'm like, fuck this movie. I hate it. I was like, oh.
I did 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I'm like, I'm done. And Michael's about to show up again. I'm like, I
just don't care. Yeah.
Anyway, Sisu's awesome.
I watched it once. That was it. Yeah, Sisu's awesome. It's a masterclass of giving us back action movies, getting us back on track of. Everyone bitches about we want new movies, we want new stories. There it is.
Yeah,
right there.
Go see it.
Go see it. Rent it.
But Keanu Reeves isn't in it.
That's fine. I bet Keanu Reeves has watched it though. You know,
he wishes he was in it.
I borrowed it from J-Man. I'm still gonna go buy it. I just couldn't get the Steelbook that was a Best Buy exclusive, and they wouldn't deliver. It was in store only, and my store didn't have it. Because the slip cover is the knife going through right in front of
that's
his
really
face.
neat.
And you pull it and it's his face, but you put it down and it's the knife going across his eyes.
Cool.
I was like, I fucking want that. Nobody got it near me. So I will one day own it. So I'll put my money where my mouth is.
And I'll be picking it up in 4K because I know Steve's got it on 4K. So I'll order it from Amazon.com so there's another French writing on it. But Jay, you're doing a show. Is it this Friday or next Friday?
Next Friday.
Oh, good. It's next Friday. Okay, so in that case, next week we won't do a show. I'll be a guest on your show, and we're going to do Total Recall versus RoboCop, which is hard as fuck. I don't know why I'm going to choose that, man.
Do you want to do that on Wednesday then? You want to do that on the Wednesday, or do you want to do it on the Friday?
Whichever.
So we could do it Wednesday if you want,
actually,
like the same, or Friday's better. Doesn't matter to me.
Whichever is easier for you guys. It's just I feel bad because you guys are doing a stream on a Wednesday before coming on to this, which I really appreciate that you do come on, by the way, because it would be the least of my notions. So whichever is easier for you, Wednesday or Friday, I don't care.
I'm going to vote for Friday. I'm going to be honest.
Then it's Friday.
Yeah, let's do Friday then. I'll be a guest then. So there won't be a TAE live next week. Then maybe the week after we could talk Split Second.
For sure.
The thing is. You kind of got me excited, though. I think we should rank the Maniac Cop movies at some point because they're action horror.
Yes,
they are. We need a little bit of time to watch them, though. I mean, we're talking ranking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In a few weeks. Yeah.
I've seen them 100 million. I know my.
I know them, but I'm still one of those people that like. I've seen RoboCop and Total Recall more times than I can count. I'm gonna fucking watch them before we do the stream.
I don't think I need to rewatch Total Recall or RoboCop. They're like burned into my skull.
I bought the 4K of Total Recall and been waiting for just an excuse.
Do it.
4K is beautiful. I have the 4K.
And that's my excuse because I bought RoboCop on 4K and we covered it. And my God, the way they converted that movie is gorgeous. And so Total Recall, I got high hopes for, so.
Okay.
And I don't know how I'm going to vote. So.
But also, Charlie, just to mention to everybody, Charlie, you passed a milestone this week, didn't you?
We did. We had our very first month. 1 month, we had 1,000 downloads on our podcast.
Yeah,
that has been when we start. Like Nate even made a post about it that when he first started the podcast, 1 month got like 200, downloads. So we've done something good, and we got a really cool thing going on. We're doing a double feature Grindhouse with a Cut Above horror review. We went on their show and covered Planet Terror, and then they came on our show and we covered Death Proof. We released them same day. We're doing all our promos together, so you can literally have a double feature podcast. So it's going really well. We're having a good time.
Okay, awesome. So tomorrow night I'm going to go see Meg 2: The Trench.
That's out already?
It's out tomorrow. But I hope I have a better theatrical experience than I did with the first movie. Or if not, then I'll have a great rant anyway.
What happened with the first one? Well, tell me after.
Don't bash the movie so hard.
I like Meg Part 1.
Yeah, that was the thing. So so I'll see it tomorrow. I'll have a review written up tomorrow night or Friday, and then next week we'll see you for Total Recall versus RoboCop over on J-Man's channel. So that sounds good to me. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. That was a good chat, and we'll see you next week, and then the week after we'll discuss Split Second. And I'm desperate to talk about Marked for Death at some point. I find Seagal always brings in everybody for some reason. I'm just trying to think Marked for Death versus something. I'm like, what can we do it as? We'll think about that anyway, and
for sure
we'll do that at some point soon. Okay. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you the week after next. But if you watch J-Man's channel next Friday, and if you are watching, remember, you are the Action Elite.